Well, today, party knowledge, just in case you're at like a frat house or a toga themed, kind of one of those sexy ones, our party knowledge today is going to be about Constantine the Great.
Ah, Keanu Reeves, Constantine.
Constantine. Exactly, that movie. No, this is about the real Constantine, the Roman emperor. So I'm just going to run through some things.
Hit me with
but I'm going to just start it off with, I was in York, England, and York has a lot of history with the Romans just because it's up north. There was a lot of Vikings up there, and it kind of like has a really big, important part of British history. And there's this statue there of Constantine at the place where he was like crowned emperor in York. So it's like 4 hours north of London, right? It's really funny because he's sitting there all kind of like suave, and there's this giant sword, like, you know, he's just got it on the pommel.
That's very suggestive.
Yeah, very suggestive of the times. No, but it was just funny because we went on a tour and somebody was telling me the story that some homeless guy like stole the sword like 10 years ago or something like that. Or 20 years ago. Just like it was missing. And then he like wanted something from the city government, and they like gave it to him, and then he just put it back like on the pedestal of the statue.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to conceal.
Yeah.
Where do you put that?
No, it's like a 4.5 foot sword. It's huge, massive. Anyway, there's also like this old Roman pillar that like is commemorating kind of that area, and it used to be all these Roman ruins that's now kind of this modern city. So that's where all this came from. So let's get into it. A couple hot facts that you're going to want to know about Constantine the Great. He was born in 306 AD after Anno Domino, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. Yeah. All that Latin.
Back when they spoke Latin.
The Latin shite. His dad was the emperor before him, right? And so what happened was he was like this general in the army, really beloved by all the people. He was functioning in Britannia. Like that's where he was governing and kind of helping keep the peace for the Roman Empire. And then all of a sudden his dad dies in 306. Not 306. His dad dies. And essentially, he was crowned right there on the spot. And all his men were like, this is great because he's the greatest leader in Rome, blah, blah, blah. But then what happened was like a civil war broke out, and Constantine basically had to go around and kick a bunch of other people's asses to become emperor, which is typical. But
Constantine the Good dies, before Constantine the Great.
Constantine the Good he was Constantine the average, and then he became Constantine the pretty good, and then through a couple of wars he became a champion.
Laid the big sword on the table,
exactly.
And he's like, no.
Yeah,
I'm great.
I am the great.
How do you become the great? I'm sure we'll get into how he became the great. But not to divert, but like Alexander the Great, to be known thousands of years later as Constantine the Great, Alexander the Great, Luke and Nick and DJ autocorrect the great.
Greats.
Like that's going to be great.
We'll get into that. I think getting that moniker, you have to do some great things. By the way, I was wrong. 272 is when he was born. 306 is when he was crowned emperor when his dad died.
Hey, if you're at a party telling someone, they're not going to fact check unless
they should. 272 guys. Put that in your brain. Born.
Hold on. From my recollection, I believe it was 272.
Well, you can be that guy now.
Yeah, I can.
You're just there with your root beer on the outside of the circle, and they're all talking. 306. Actually,
this guy know how to party.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we're all doing Keanu Reeves now.
Yeah. Constantine.
We're just gonna do this whole episode as Keanu Reeves. So 306, crowned in York, in England, which is way far away from the seat of Rome.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that's where he was stationed at the time. So it was like no time like the present. And all his men wanted him to do this because he was this great leader, great general, and all this stuff.
They send the pigeon like, hey, Constantine's
the man.
Constantine's dead, but you, Constantine, are now the man.
Exactly. And they wrote him back like, Constantine ain't great. Constantine a bitch. I'm the emperor.
All these pigeons start flying.
They run into each other. This is all facts. You can say this at your party. But the point is that he went around, defeated all these other guys who were challenging the throne because he was very tactical. He had a lot of loyalty from his men. So he's a great leader on the battlefield. But then he proved to be a great leader just in the world in general. He standardized currency at the time in the Roman Empire.
He's the asshole.
Yeah, but he stopped inflation. So we could use a little bit of Constantine right now.
Yeah.
He restructured the military, which essentially just made it more responsive. So there's these little units.
Better pigeons.
Comitatenses and Limitane. You might want to Google that before you go to the party.
Yeah. So he's got commies and
commies and libertarians. Anyway, it just helped. It helped the units be more mobile so that they could quickly respond like foreign attacks, but also quell like internal conflicts. So essentially, it's kind of like our modern military system of just being ultra responsive, being well positioned and garrisoned in particular places. So he essentially
snitches.
No, he just increased the defense of Rome. And finally, he kind of there were some government restructurings that changed how closely civil issues were governed by the military arm of the government. So kind of like a national guard.
You got your judicial system, your executive branch, and the other one.
Yeah, but they were just Coliseums. Anyway, he did all that stuff. So those are big three things: currency, military, defenses, and internal military order, essentially.
So these things, though, when he was like fighting wars and stuff, were these like his brothers or cousins or like just other entities from Rome that were vying for power? Did that?
Yeah, they were definitely within they were within the Roman government.
Yeah.
So
they were all like, I don't know, we already had Constantine the subpar as our ruler. I don't know if this Constantine the average is really going to cut it. Let's get someone else in here. But then Constantine is like, no.
Yeah.
I'm great, dude.
Yeah.
Great.
So
we'll show them
this
a big sword.
Yeah. So Constantine was like touring around, I think, basically saying like, I'm the new emperor, ... And then this Maxentius guy was preparing for war. And so he like fortified Italy and then got a bunch of like support from like this new religion called Christianity. And
those assholes.
He was allowing like people to function already, which is funny because that's the fourth thing that you should know Constantine for, was that he introduced Christianity into the Roman Empire. So he kind of like beat Maxentius, kicked him in the teeth, and then he took his playbook and essentially just like incorporated it. So this is quick Velocity Chaos podcast history that I'm just like learning as we go.
That's cool.
But anyway,
I mean, to be someone that pivotal in history, he definitely swayed, like you said, currency. Yeah. We're all using, currencies, all this made up, I don't want to say device, but these made up tokens that control a lot of things in our life, that just regulating it. I mean, that's part of our lives. And then, like you said, parts of government that they have set up. And then, even going forward from that, religion, like how driving religion is, which I'm sure that's a huge cause of wars, but it's
also has the ability to like unite people and create a common language. So like, by introducing like the seat of power in Christianity and putting it in Rome, which is still to this day, like the Vatican being there has become like this central figurehead in religion. So
I believe it was Vatican Constantine at one point.
So so last thing, this is a fun little fact you can throw out there at your party, is he was 65 when he died. So that's a pretty good age back then, right? He ruled for 31 years. So 65 when he died, ruled for 31 years. Before we wrap up the segment, I wanted to ask you what you think makes a good ruler.
Big sword.
Perfect.
Yeah. Someone who cares about the people. But also, if they have to make a decision, it affects the least amount of people. Even if it's like, say you got a block and then everyone has to drive all the way around the block. Or we can demolish these two houses in the middle, create a road through. Just be like, I'm sorry that you've lived here. This is for the people. We'll set you up prime time somewhere else. We got to drive this through. It's going to help everyone. And like just making tough calls like that, but like affecting negatively the least amount, but greatest good, just like being able to do that.
I think that's a really good take. I think it's a great take. It's a tough one, and one not often talked about. Because, like you said, most people when they talk about leadership, they got to be passionate and compassionate and care about people. But like, really, being a good leader is about making a hard choice and living with it, and like trying to do the best you can, and be solid. So I like that word picture too.
And holding people like accountable. It's like it's not just not what the leader can do for you, but what you can do for your leader. I mean, the country.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I agree with you on both fronts. I think that's probably what made Constantine a great, is that he was able to do that at a massive scale at that time in human history.